Let's walk through the basics of kitting up a counter cross stitch pattern. You may have found one online or in a book or magazine and want to get started. I'm Michelle, this is my romantic tangle, and we're starting at Walmart because you're probably most likely to have a Walmart near you, at least if you're here in the States. You will need fabric, 6-stranded cotton embroidery floss, and some tapestry needles. There are lots of extras that you can also branch out into, but those are the bare bones basics of what you are going to need. And Walmart has a very limited selection of everything. This is Ada. It is the specialty even weave fabric that we do counter cross stitch on. There are squares on the fabric that align with the squares on your pattern. If you're at Walmart, you're going to get white and off-white in a very limited selection of sizes and colors. If your project calls for linen or it calls for specialty flosses, you're going to need to branch out to a local needle workshop. But for the basic, most common cross stitch, we can do it at the craft store. Your pattern is going to tell you what size Ada to buy. It is also going to have a list of floss colors, most likely in DMC. There are other brands that are in use, so look to see that it is DMC and not Anchor or Weeks or something more exotic than that. In your store, the color numbers will be sorted into these slotted displays. Walmart has a very limited selection, so if you need more than the most basic colors, you're going to have to go somewhere else. Tapestry needles are the blunt tipped needles that we most often use in counter cross stitch. Size 24 is the most common size, and if you're using 14 count Ada, which means there are 14 stitches per inch, that is the size that you will most likely want. In a pinch, you can stitch with a regular sharp tip sewing needle, but it's not nearly as easy and I wouldn't recommend it. Now we're at my local Joann's store. This one has a pretty decent needlework aisle and a lot more colors in fabric, a lot more colors of floss, and a lot more accessories. Not all stores are going to stock the same inventory. When you're picking out your floss, white and ecru do not have color numbers. They're going to be at the beginning of the numbered sequence. Black, for whatever reason, is number 310, so that is where you will find that. When you are picking out your colors, please check the numbers on the skein to make sure that they are the number you want. Things do get jumbled. This is pearl cotton. The stuff in the little balls there is pearl cotton, and unless your pattern specifically calls for that, that is not what you want for counter cross stitch. You want this 6-stranded embroidery floss in the little skein. Oddly enough, these craft stores sell few, if any, patterns that aren't in magazines or in a book. They used to sell individual patterns, but not so much anymore. If you didn't come into this with a good idea of what you want to stitch, you might consider trying a kit because they come with floss fabric, the pattern, and what you need to get started. If you had a pattern in mind, this should give you the information you need to pick your fabric and floss and kit it up yourself. And of course, you can always go to a local needlework store and they will be happy to help you kit up your project and get started. It is a little more expensive and they do tend to the fancier fabrics and flosses, which is not a bad thing. Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and I hope this helped you get started.